What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have never done an AMA video, but that's what this is. Last week, I posted on my Instagram story asking for you guys to ask any questions and I will answer them, and I got 31 different questions, and I'm going to try to answer every single one of them as quickly as possible. So here's how this is going to go. We're going to talk about gear, we're going to talk about technical things, we're going to talk about business, and then some personal questions. And if you're only interested in like one of these categories, you can use the YouTube timeline to scroll and see the questions that were asked and the answers I'm going to give on those different categories, or just watch the whole thing because, you know, that obviously helps the ad revenue. So 31 questions, and I'm going to go through them as fast as I possibly can while still getting quality answers. Okay, so jumping into gear, here's our first question. How do I get into Leica when the price is so steep? Save money by doing jobs with your current camera and do not go into debt. Question number 2, what gear do you bring when traveling for a shoot? I typically bring a digital camera like my M11 or a film camera like one of my medium format cameras, which is a Rolleiflex 2.8 or a Hasselblad 500cm, or I bring the M6. Ultimately, I'm going into every shoot that I'm gonna do with some type of vision for what that shoot is supposed to look like, and I take the cameras and lenses that are appropriate for the vision that I have for that shoot. And speaking of lenses, I'm typically using, on my Leica system at least, the 35 Summilux is like my go-to #1 lens. You can see all about that above, but I also have the 50 Summilux I use quite often, and occasionally a 28 Summicron and a 90 Summarit. Do you think smartphones will eventually replace traditional cameras? No. See Tony Northrup's video, I'm gonna link it right above, about just how awful an iPhone camera actually is. Next question, what is the best bag or sling that you've tried for a Leica M setup for just one cam and one lens? I'm looking for a decent daily bag. When I'm going out for just like a one camera, one lens kind of thing, I'm typically just gonna bring a fanny pack and just stick my Leica M in here with whatever lens is on it because it'll fit in this little fanny pack here. But if I'm taking out like an actual camera sling, it's going to be the Clever Supply camera sling. I carried this around Europe last summer, and I was able to put in this bag an M6, an M10R, a Q2, and 4M lenses. And this thing was pretty packed full, but I got all that in there. But typically when I take this out, I've got 2 cameras in it, a film camera and a digital camera with a lens attached to each one. And I bring the Osmo Pocket 3 in this as well. And that's my typical setup for camera bag. If you want to learn more about this one, I've got a link right below and a little code. You can save yourself a little money if you decide to pick this up. Check it out below. How many Leicas and Leica lenses have you owned in total? Have I owned? Oh, good Lord. Okay, there's the Q2 monochrome, the M6, the M8, the M10, the M10R, the M11, and the M11 monochrome. But to be clear, the ones that I currently have are the M6, the M11, and the M11 monochrome at the moment. For lenses, we'll start with what I currently have, which is a 28 Summicron, a 35 Summilux, a 50 Summilux, and a 90 Summarit. And there's also a 50 Summitar in there, which is a very vintage lens and very inexpensive. Leica lenses that I've had that I have not kept are just like third-party lenses. Like I didn't keep the Zeiss Biogon 21mm, didn't like it. I love the Voigtlander Ultron VM235 that I had, but I have a 35 Summilux, so I don't need the Voigtlander anymore. I've had a couple of light Lens Lab lenses, didn't like them, let them go. And so yeah, that's about it. It's been a lot, but it kind of just comes and goes. And real quick, pro tip, if you buy used Leica gear, it retains its value at what you buy it for. I have never taken a loss on any gear. I always have sold gear for what I have in it, or a few things I actually made a little money because I bought and sold at the right time. So a lot of times it seems like, wow, that's a ton of cash, but it's really just moving cash from one thing to another. And you can have your own opinions about that, but it works for me. Okay, what do you think about the M240? Great camera, horrible screen. If you had to build your kit all over, what would your key items be? M11, 35 Summilux. I talk about why right above. Okay, would you ever consider an M10 or M11D? No. Should I pick an M11 or SL3 for commercial work? It really just depends on the experience you want. I historically have used an M11 for commercial work, and it gets the job done for me. Okay, let's talk business. Question 1. Can a person make it as a photographer starting today? Absolutely, but you have to learn how to run it like a business and not like a hobby. Read the E-Myth Revisited. I'm gonna link that right below. How do you handle pricing your work and finding clients? You've got to price for the value that you bring and have a portfolio and hard data that supports that price. Go meet potential clients face to face. Figure out what industry you want to be in, and then go to the trade shows and conferences that that industry has and just go meet people. Make clients there. I mean, I've done that for years and it works great. Do you have any tips on building a portfolio that stands out? I'd say to have a website that loads super fast, like Squarespace, not a sponsor, and make the best work you have the first thing that they are going to see when they load your super fast loading website. Next question, how do you balance your own artistic vision with client request? You got to serve your clients with your artistic vision. They hired you for a reason and you are your greatest asset. Where do you see the industry heading over the next 5 to 10 years? I think we're currently in a trend that pushes towards authenticity, and I think that's going to even expand as Gen Z becomes the target demographic of all marketing over the next several years. So keep it real with your photos. Okay, let's take a quick break so I can tell you about a brand new tier that I just launched on my Patreon. Patreon is a great way to support this channel if you enjoy watching these kinds of videos, and this new tier is all about one-on-one mentorships. You can learn all about that at a link below and visit the Patreon page, read about what the mentorship looks like, and if you have any questions, hit me up in the DMs on Instagram. Okay, let's jump back in. How do you handle tricky lighting situations? You just gotta embrace it, and if you're in harsh light, find ways to lower the contrast with your compositions, and if you're in soft light, find ways to add contrast in your compositions. Is there digital photography without editing software? Sure, but I don't think it looks very good. Unless you have like an old CCD like an M8 or M9. Do you have a workflow for printing, like proofing and color adjustments? Nope. I just hit the print button in Lightroom and print on my Canon over there, and I've always been pretty happy with that. But if it's a print that I'm selling, and I understand that a lot of people do print at home for photos they sell, I use this printer to mostly print photos for me, family photos, photo albums, and that kind of thing. But if something I'm selling, I use a printer that I really trust and have worked with here in the Bay Area, and they make my prints for me, and they have everything I love, just completely dialed in. Find yourself a good local printer. How do you decide between shooting digital and film? It really comes down just to the vision I have for what I'm going to shoot, or if I'm bored with one or the other, I'll use one or the other. How do you deal with unpredictable weather or conditions during a shoot? You just got to embrace it and make the best of it. You can't just be a good photographer during like a beautiful golden hour. What's the one thing every beginner photographer should know? It's that your lenses matter way more than your camera does. How do you make your images stand out from the crowd? Find ways to say the same thing that everyone else is saying, but find a way to say it using your voice. What that really means is just like, don't be a cliche. Find a way to say something with your voice. There's nothing new. Everything's been done, but nothing has been done in your voice. So figure that out. Okay, home stretch, the personal questions. First one up, near and dear to my heart. Where did you get that colorful jacket you were wearing last winter? You mean this beautiful thing right here? I love supporting small businesses, and there is a link below that'll take you right to that jacket. I don't care if you all have it. I want you all to have it. We can see each other out in the wild in this thing and all know we are supporting this awesome small business. Use the code HERRING for a pretty substantial discount because those guys are awesome and they're hooking you up. Check it out right below. A few other of my favorite brands that you'll see me wearing pretty often are Filson, Pendleton, Rourke, and a lot of the brands that are sold on huckberry.com. Except my jeans. My jeans are H&M skinny jeans, and I would die in those jeans. I don't care what the youth say. Okay, what's the most uncomfortable shoot you've ever done? This could go in two directions. I'm gonna go in like I was actually just uncomfortable, and that was in 2022 when I shot the One Wheel Racing League race here in the Bay Area. It was 105 degrees and I had no shade. And I shot this thing for like several hours. It was by far the most uncomfortable I've ever been on a photo shoot. But the photos are awesome, but super uncomfortable. Where do you find inspiration for your work? Books of things that don't exist anymore. Who are some of your favorite photographers and how have they influenced your work? Let's start with Stephen Shore. I love his urban stuff. Same with Joel Sternfield, incredible urban stuff. Gordon Parks actually captured probably some of the most meaningful photographs ever made. Robert Frank, another really timeless photographer who sequences his books in incredible ways. A couple of modern photographers are guys like Bertie Mandagi and Forrest Mankins, who are making very original work today when it's really easy to just be making the same cliches over and over. So I really appreciate their work because they inspire me to be creative myself. What's the best piece of advice you've received as a photographer? Take photos every day. Every day. What is your process for conceptualizing a photo shoot? Well, I do a lot of planning to make the most of my time. I don't really do mood boards or try to look at things that are going to be similar because I don't want that to influence me. I want to come at it with a fresh set of eyes and try to just come at it with me and not let a bunch of mood boards or other people's work influence me. Another question on planning, can you walk us through the planning stages of one of your projects? Well, I'm working on a project right now across the northern plains of the US, and I shared a video a few weeks ago that talks about how I've been using Google to make those plans, like using Google Maps and really scouting locations before I show up to make the most of it. So I would just say ultimately it's a lot of research, it's cold calling and emails to make connections with people to find some of the things that you're looking for. For this project, it's been historical societies and reaching out to chambers of commerce in small towns to get connections to people. So a lot of it is just emailing and hoping you hear back. What's your favorite location you've shot at? For me, it's landscapes that are void of humanity, which is why national parks all over the world are great places to photograph if you like landscapes that are void of humanity. What trends do you see emerging in photography right now? As I said before, authenticity. How are you doing? On the realist, just want to see how things are going. You know what? Thank you for asking. If I'm honest, I'm just tired. And I've been tired for 10 years. On the realist, I recently went through sleep therapy to try to correct the fact that I sleep 4 to 5 hours a night, and I've had that be a situation for me for many, many years. And I also deal with the constant roller coaster of love and hate that come through the comments on YouTube. And then there's juggling family and life and commitments and relationships and being a dad and all the other things that go into being in your 40s and having a family and working and being a creative and then starting a YouTube channel and just trying to make it work. So yeah, I'm kind of tired, but I'm also the happiest and most fulfilled I have ever been. All right, that's all of the questions I received through that Instagram story. If you saw your question on here, thank you so much for asking and being part of this video. And if you have any other questions and maybe this sparked a question, hit me up in the DMs on Instagram and I will gladly and happily respond to you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you next time.